Travis Wingedzel. Okay, how many of you hearkened and did some studying of 3rd Nephi chapter 7 before this video? As I've been going over with you for years, the Book of Mormon is not in the learning of Christians. It's in the learning of the Jews. It says so. And so when it talks about the Christ, even when it says the name Jesus, it's not Jesus in the learning of the Christians. This is the learning of the Jews. And this is too complicated, apparently. As Mormons, especially, have destroyed their own Book of Mormon with Christian interpretation. Destroying the Joseph Smith history with Christian interpretation. The prophets of Brigham Young have lied. And there's a reason why they lied. There is history that they have lied about to cover up what they did. And so the Book of Mormon is not literal history. They are stories that are used to symbolize and encode a warning of the latter days. Now, this is too complicated. Mormons would rather believe that Jesus is real, has supernatural powers to save them from their sins, in their sins, so that they can just sit back and let Jesus do all the work for them. And you don't know the danger that awaits you this year because you don't believe Joseph Smith with his second vision. In 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 8, it's a sign in the heavens. It's from Revelation chapter 12. Joseph Smith translation connects it to this passage because of the change that it was made. This date is confirmed as fact 23rd September 2017. This is the first year of the latter days from all Scripture. This is the evil of Christianity. This is the cover-up of Christian goggles. This is what Mormons should have known all these decades. But the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has blinded you with their lies. These are the prophesied latter days. This is the year that shall burn as an oven. And Joseph Smith adds, and they that come shall burn you. So, the Book of Mormon, before telling us the star date of 2017, tells us it's the first year of the latter days by saying in verse 4, for it came to pass in the commencement of the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah, king of Utah. Phonetically the same. It's a coincidence. It was called Deseret, but that other guy got to Congress to have it called the territory of Utah instead, thus fulfilling prophecy. Brigham Young called it Deseret because that's in the Book of Ether. What is the moral of the Book of Ether, Mormons? That secret combinations would utterly destroy the United States of America and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the great and abominable church. That's why Brigham named it Deseret. That's why the inverted pentagram of Lucifer is his decoration piece. He is the secret combination. And you guys are arguing, you're disagreeing, you're refusing to believe because of the stumbling block he put on you. And here I am trying to save your life, and you refuse. And you'd rather see me dead and silenced. So who was put on the throne of America in 2017? And yet over the years, I've had a bunch of dumbasses try to tell me that he is the Christ. Zedekiah usurped the throne. He was put on by a foreign government. So who was put on the throne of America? This is not complicated. It already happened. We now know. The Book of Mormon came to pass. It is a book of prophecy because of the real church history behind it. This is the sad reality that Mormons refuse to believe. And so right now, before Friday, he has to appear to jail in Georgia to have his photo taken and be booked for his crimes committed in Georgia. He is the usurper put on the throne by a foreign government. This is not complicated anymore. We now know we're living in these days that was warned about by Joseph Smith, who gave his life so that you would be warned. And Mormons don't believe? So I'm also upset with YouTube this morning, tampering with my videos. And I'm also upset because I saw the Afghani episode of NCIS too. We knew the evils of the Taliban. And this was back in 2013, season 11. We knew. And Stephen Miller is the cause of the chaos of Afghanistan withdrawal. Now those poor women are suffering. And they all claim it's because of Allah. The Taliban Allah. Who's torturing women. There are just some blatant, obvious things that Mormons just can't put together with their own church. That if they were to realize it, they'd go, oh crap. I've been brainwashed in the Great Abominable Church. I'm a part of a cult group trying to murder me. And so, since this isn't real history, we get to 3 Nephi chapter 7. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints wants their kingdom back. They hate the United States of America. Brigham Young had in his temple endowment ceremony a death to America loyalty oath with the penalty of death for any Mormon who would reveal it. Because you all get excited celebrating the sex trafficking of women to this valley on July 24th, 1847. But this was not the United States of America. Brigham fled the country, murdered the native inhabitants of this land to establish his kingdom of Deseret, which they called Zion. Are you unfamiliar with the hymns? O Babylon, we bid thee farewell. We're going to the mountains of Ephraim to dwell. Babylon is considered the United States of America. And Ephraim? Yeah, I did the video yesterday. It's the white supremacist term of Mormons. Because the blacks in the church are from a different tribe. I'm assuming. I'm willing to bet. And so yes, in 1848, Mexico, whose land this was, seceded and let the United States take it. And thus, because of the one man who got to Congress first, it became the territory of Utah. But the Brighamites and their war against the United States kept Utah from becoming a state in the Union. And nobody seems to understand this or want to know and acknowledge this. Brigham Young ordered polygamy for all of Mormonisms, not just his secret combination of Danites. as he illegally trafficked them to Utah, as they were lied to about the name of the church when they were converted by him and his Danites, of whom Joseph Smith had to condemn with his Joseph Smith history in 1838. And Mormons still refuse to believe, as they worship Lucifer and call him Jesus, who is not even the name of our Christ. You have no clue that Christianity is evil and anti-Semitic, with the establishment of Jesus in the Jewish records. And so, 3rd Nephi chapter 11 is next year, 8 April 2024. It's not real. It's not Jesus. The sign of his death after 3 days of darkness, thus the 3rd day of darkness, is established, but has yet to happen, as 8 April 2024. And so the Book of Mormon starts us in 2017 and ends in the Promised Land 8 April 2024. Zion. And we're not there, are we? You missed the Exodus in 2020, which is encoded in the Book of Mormon, by the way. But we're going over 3rd Nephi 7. If anybody hasn't been offended and has left already. And so, after the 2020 election fraud, with the coup attempt, following the exact same pattern of the Danites in 1838, there is the murder of the chief judge of the land. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. I sincerely hope it wasn't murder. She was having some health problems. She was in there quite a long time, as we're having a problem with our Supreme Court justices. But this is the Book of Mormon. There was a change of government encoded here. Because as you read through the Book of Mormon, you learn about King Mosiah, who's the son of King Benjamin. And King Mosiah is getting near the end of his life. And his firstborn birthright blessing son, the sons of Mosiah, don't want to be king. But he says in Mosiah 29 why he is doing away with a monarchy. He refers to wicked King Noah as an example, and establishes a constitutional republic. That's what you should have paid attention to. The United States of America, in its Constitution, Articles 4 and 6 are to be a constitutional republic. It is the supreme law of the land, not the president, not congressmen, not the Supreme Court. The Constitution. They all are to take oaths of loyalty to sustaining and defending the Constitution. They are not to form another government to coup a constitutional republic. And yet, we have the false dichotomous extremes of socialist republic and representative republic attacking our government. Both sides saying, see how evil the other side is? That's why you need to be us, the other extreme. When neither party is correct. They're both in violation of the Constitution. We are divided as a nation. And both parties, though it's mostly the representative republics who want a king back, the kingmen who are doing the most damage as of late. But I still see the socialist republics doing damage of their own. These are purposely designed to destroy the Bill of Rights. Overturning Roe v. Wade, banning books, going after porn, and other extremist acts. All of those are designed to overthrow the First Amendment. YouTube silences the voice of those who have the freedom of speech, and giving freedom of speech to those who take freedom of speech of others away, as well as Facebook and Twitter. Social media platforms are anti-American and are seeking to overthrow the government. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a part of all this, with their religious freedom. You've got it. It's in the First Amendment. Back off. But they won't, because of their exemption clause behind the religious freedom movement, where they're trying to add that as a religion, they don't need to follow the laws of the land. And so that's one of their tactics to get their kingdom back, is to buy up land. And that on their land, as a religion, they don't have to follow the laws of the land. And so they buy back the land of Utah and say, we are now an independent religious state who no longer have to obey the laws of the United States and its Constitution, and establish a monarchy with the president of their church. claim it's led by Jesus. And so you 11-year-old girls, no more education for you, no mission, and no career, because you are now forced to be a breeder. This is what awaits. This is what they're planning. It's got historical basis with Brigham Young. He murdered Joseph and Hiram, the prophets. And so interestingly, he refers to the murder of the chief judge as being in the 13th year. 13 is the York riots with the Knights Templar. Friday the 13th. The final day before the day of rest of the millennium. 7 days, 7 years of the Exodus, of Passion Week, incorrectly interpreted. The time period of the latter days. This is the final year. This is 2023. There is a murder of the president coming, or at least an attempted murder. I've been warning my government and the intelligence agencies for years. They've refused to listen. And so yes, I've already notified them of this. I expect they won't listen. Joseph Smith tells us the date of the attack. 9/11. So not only is it for Mormons to be burned, but there's also going to be other attacks on America on that same day. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but like I said, everything already has been fulfilled. It's now fact that the Book of Mormon has been warning us. And so I'm suspicious that it's not just going to be President Biden whose life is in danger this year, but also Kamala Harris, the vice president. Now why? Why both of them? Well, who takes over as president if they're both gone? Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House. Is he a Democrat? Is he a socialist republic? Nope. Have you been paying attention to what MAGA wants to do? They keep wanting to put Zedekiah back on the throne. They keep trying to figure out ways to do it. They're threatening to impeach Biden and Harris so that he can be put back on the throne. So what do you think's going to happen? He's got 4 indictments going on, all of which are planned to be dealt with and settled before the 2024 election. Are you catching on to the bigger picture here? Why would the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints want him back as president? You've forgotten that he visited the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Met with Nelson? You don't remember that back in the first year? Or was it the second year? I think it was still the first year. But yeah, what were the issues with Utah during his presidency? The big one that you knew of was Bears Ears. Who put him on the throne? Who did he hand over the government to? And so, what does Bears Ears have that foreign government wants? We already know all this information because it's already happened. This is no time for dumbasses filling in the blanks of their personal opinions and feelings. Everything is already established. And so, we see that the Nephites were divided. The art of war, divide and conquer. And it refers to that as tribal separation. Anybody been paying attention to the news? Tribe mentality, tribalism. The news has been helping perpetuate the plot. And thus, they did destroy the government of the land. Every state did appoint their own leader over them. That's governors. With the deaths of the president and vice president, you're going to have Democrat states refusing to allow Trump back in power. Because they know he's guilty of crimes for which he should not be put back as president. There are congressmen, Mike Lee, descendant of Danite, John D. Lee, who was involved in the 1838 insurrection of the church, who are not allowed, according to the amendments, to be in office. We've got your cell phone messages, Mike Lee. Get the hell out of there. And yet he rigged his own election in 2022. He was not supposed to run. He was supposed to get his ass kicked out. This is the coup. And so every state will hold elections as to who's going to be the president of which state. It's right there in the Book of Mormon, guys. Seceding from the nation. Because there will be chaos. And people aren't going to be happy if they don't get their way. And it's possible that states like Florida and Texas may decide, hey, this is our opportunity to run our own state. We won't worry about Trump. We won't worry about whether or not McCarthy becomes the president of the United States and installs a Republican order, MAGA order, because they're already running their state as if they are autonomous. If you hadn't been paying attention in the news. And so all this great wickedness, iniquity, came because the people yielded themselves to the power of Satan. And the regulations of government were destroyed because of the secret combination of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who murdered Joseph and Hiram. Who was other prophets that were murdered in the Book of Mormon? There was a Benadi, but that was King Noah and his priests. It's not secret combinations. Nehor murdered Gilead, or Gideon, one of the two names. But he wasn't a prophet. He was just the one who helped Limhi escape. Do you see what the Book of Mormon's doing here? There were no prophets murdered. Samuel Lamanite got away. Nephi, he's still alive. He's going to become the Christ. By Jesus, who anoints him. And asking about the name of God's documents. Yes, they're using Hebrew baby name meanings, plus their own coded name meaning for Nephi. Which is why it was Nephi who came to Joseph Smith in the second vision, as he's described as Emmanuel. And thus 6 years had not passed away since the more part of the people had turned from their righteousness. This is the final year. Because you have 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. 8 years. But 6 years passed away. So you don't count 2017 for this one. Thus, 2023 is 6 years when all this happened. 2023. 8 years for the 8 days of Passover of the Exodus, which is wrongly called Passion Week. Sunday to Sunday. And so, the secret combination many of you have been watching several of my videos, especially lately, and seen the picture. I again posted it since yesterday. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the secret combination. The Council for National Policy. When something important needs to happen, they get one of their members to do the job. And so the 2016 election that helped a foreign government put him on the throne, Steve Bannon is that member involved in that rigging. When Trump was getting impeached, he had a lawyer, one of the members. The Supreme Court, all compromised because of one man who's hooking them up with billionaires to compromise their votes and overthrow Roe v. Wade, etc. Member. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints runs it. They have as their representative the Skousens, and technically Cleon Skousen, who is now replaced by the birthright blessing son Mark Skousen. Royal Skousen, by the way, was trying to help cover up the Joseph Smith papers that reveals that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the secret combination that overthrew Joseph Smith. They knew this before they joined the church to overthrow it. This was finished in 1829. That's the year when Heber C. Kimball had a child with another woman, not his wife. Heber C. Kimball was a polygamist when he joined the Church of Monogamy. And as I've gone over with you, the church wants their kingdom back. This is their plot to overthrow the government. These are all facts. This isn't a spiritual witness. This is no opinion because I'm angry at the church for not running the church like I want it to be run. So I'm going, taking my ball and going home, taking my Urim and Thummim and leaving. No. I came to the church and said, hey, Joseph Smith is a translator. Look. I used science and deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, and then went on to decipher Egyptian, learning and language of the Egyptians, and all other ancient languages. Joseph Smith is a translator, not a spiritual witnessizer. And I became hunted by the church, who sought to murder me, as they did Joseph and Hiram. And so now, instead of Zedekiah, this president is now called Jacob. What does Jacob mean in Hebrew, from Hebrew? Usurper. The usurper. And so MAGA placed at their head the usurper. And they called him king. This has already been fulfilled. Therefore, he's king over MAGA, the wicked band. And he was the chiefest who gave his voice against I still thought it was hilarious that I got him to say the oranges of the investigation that morning. It's awesome. And so, yeah, then there's some other stuff. We see that his attempt to take over the throne will fail. And that he'll have to flee the country. Because he's got 4 indictments. But this will allow him to flee the country if he cannot become president again. But either way, if he becomes president, the church will declare victimhood and demand the federal government give them restitution for the damage that they paid to have caused. Because it's billions of dollars of insurance money if Temple Square is destroyed. Let alone if they don't expand out to take out BYU and Logan Temple, other historic sites of the church in this valley, which one was just established as a historical site just the other week ago. The church will want insurance for the damage from the federal government. And they're not going to get it with Biden. But with Trump, sure. As long as they do him a favor, though. And so, yes, they want him as president again. They want their kingdom back. And Trump will give it to them, as long as they are loyal to him. But if he doesn't become king, they need another plan to get their kingdom back, and thus the separation of the states. Utah will separate. And instead of Governor Cox will bow the knee to Nelson and hand over the keys of government to him. The whole state of Utah will become the kingdom, literally, of the baby name meaning Lucifer, Russell Marion, the red star of Mars, married to Venus, whom Isaiah said is the inverted pentagram of Lucifer. Like I said, they already have plotted this. This is the threat. This is the warning. This is the year. Right here in the Book of Mormon. This is why you need to be terrified. This is why you need to be prepared to flee. Having an emergency kit at least, so that you can take it and run. But I just wish somebody would pick me up. Because none of you know any of this. This is the first time you're hearing of it. And so what happens after this? Yeah, climate change disasters. Hillary is already doing her job. As I saw Hillary's effects here in Utah this morning when I went out for my run. But Utah's already had their damage, and more is coming. I told you. The Book of Mormon tells us it's coming. It's chapters 8 through 10. That's the climate change destruction. The burning of cities. The flooding of cities. The utter destruction. And among the chaos, the Book of Mormon is warning us that the president and vice president are going to be assassinated. That's the plot. We learned on 9/11, 2001, that there were others who were supposed to use planes and didn't get on, or didn't go through with it when they got on. And then there was the one that crashed in Philadelphia because the passengers on the plane gave their lives to prevent it from hitting the White House. What is coming is going to be far worse. It won't just be the Salt Lake Valley and the president and vice president at 9/11's site, because that's where the both of them will be on 9/11. We are looking at John F. Kennedy's assassination repeated. These things that we've already experienced, we should have learned from to prevent history from repeating itself. But we never learn. And so there will be more to cover up the fact that the church wants their kingdom back. Other big cities will have to be targeted in order to cover up what the church is up to, so that the church can say, we're one of the victims. When we know it's not going to be Hawaii, they've already gotten their damage. And possibly not Los Angeles, because they've got their damage, though it's mostly San Diego and Ojai. But New York? Do I have that? We're already going long on this one. This will allow me to shave and bathe. So let's see if I can find it. A test is coming. I think it's him. It could be John Taylor. We'll have to see here. Come on. Quit going slow. not seeing a test is coming. Oh, wait a minute. No. Let's see if I can find it online. Because it's either John Taylor or Heber C. Kimball that prophesied of what they were planning to do in the latter days, that New York was going to be targeted. And so, yeah, it's not a surprise that 9/11 is in New York. God. No. It's supposed to improve over the years. They just make it worse. So annoying. Got the white screen of death. Because Google does not want their product to be used. And then when you try to get help, they always blame you. And if you follow their instructions, it doesn't help. Because it's not me that's causing it. Them. They never want to admit their own problems. This is going to take hours, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not going to find it quick enough for you. So we'll just tell you that New York, all of the pretty models are seen in vision dead. And they throw in Joseph Smith's Missouri wagging dog as a tail thing, which came from July 1840, to try to claim it's a prophecy of Joseph when they're the ones who are plotting it. So I see that they're saying Joseph Smith prophesied that New York would be desolated. I think that comes from the section in the Doctrine and Covenants. Third hour. And yeah, they're tying it to World Trade Center, but that's not what Joseph was prophesying about. Woodruff prophesied New York. So they're claiming an earthquake. I want to... Mormon Wiki. C. Kimball. Nope. John Taylor. So if I don't find it, I'll just cut it off of the video. John Taylor's Last Days Vision, as Wilford Woodruff recorded it. Here we go. This is it. No carriages, buggies, or cars were running. Death and destruction were everywhere. There we go. Yep, John Taylor, who murdered Hiram, whom Joseph Smith shot with the 3 remaining balls. Oh, it's the whole thing. Okay. Let's see. I was then in a dream immediately in the city of Salt Lake and wandering around in the streets and in all parts of the city, and on the doors of the houses I found badges of mourning, and I could not find a house but was in mourning. This is 9/11, guys. This is what he knew he needed to have prepared for 200 years later. I passed my own house and found the same sign there, and I asked the question, is that me that is dead? Someone gave me the answer, no, you'll get through it all. Because they'll flee. It seemed strange to me that I saw no person in the streets in all my wandering around the country. I seemed to be in their houses with the sick. Oh, really? A sickness over the whole United States? Why won't China let us investigate? And saw no funeral procession, nor any of the kind. Been that long. But the city looking still as though the people were praying. And it seemed that they had controlled the disease. Creeping death. But what the disease was, I did not learn, because it hadn't been invented in the lab yet. It was not made known to me. I then looked over the country, north, east, south, and west. And the same mourning was in every land and in every place. So this is 2020. Does not seem to be the burning part. 9/11 here. And then Omaha, Nebraska. He was above the earth, looking down upon it. Passed along my way east. I saw the road full of people, mostly women, with just what they could carry in bundles. Come on, guys, somebody give me a ride. On their backs, traveling to the mountains on foot. I wondered how they would get through with such a small pack on their backs. It was remarkable to us that there were so few men among them. It didn't seem to me as though the cars were running. The rails looked rusty, and the roads abandoned. And I have no conception of how I traveled as I looked down upon the people. You were flying. Because you're seeing the future. Continued east by way of Omaha and Council Bluffs, which were full of disease. There were women everywhere. State of Illinois and Missouri were in tumult. Men killing one another. Women joining the fighting. Family against family in the most horrid manner. I imagine next that I was in Washington, and I found desolation there. The abomination of desolation. See? The White House was empty, and the halls of Congress the same, and everything in ruins. This is not a disease. The people seem to have left the city and left it to take care of itself. With the death of the president and every state in the union becoming its own nation, no need for a federal government. Everybody goes back to their home state to try to at least preserve the state under their control. This is why I suspect there will be elections, voting for who is to lead their tribe. I was in Baltimore, in the square where the monument of 1812 there was a war in 1812. On 9/11, 1813, the British had landed and were about to march on the White House and burn it. The day that shall burn as an oven. I saw dead piled up so as to fill the street square. Saw mothers cutting their throats of their own children for their blood. Oh, isn't that what QAnon said of the deep state Dems? Satan worshippers drinking the blood of babies? Do you see where he's getting this from? I saw them suck it from their throats to quench their own thirst and then lie down and die. The water of Chesapeake Bay was stagnant, and the stench rising from it on account of their throwing their bodies into it. Don't put the dead bodies in the water. It's so terrible. We have that problem with the Jordan River. Everybody murders somebody and dumps their body in the Jordan River. And very few women in this particular case. Those I saw were crazy and in an ugly condition. Everywhere I went, I beheld the same sights all over the city. Terrible beyond description to look upon. I thought this must be the end, but no. I was seemingly in an instant in the city of Philadelphia. There, everything was still. No living soul was there to greet me. Why would they want to greet you? It seemed the whole city was without inhabitant. In the south of Chestnut Street, and in fact everywhere I went, the putrefaction of the dead, ill putrescence, caused such a stench that it was impossible for any living thing to breathe. Nor did I see any living thing in the city. Next, I found myself on Broadway. Phantom of the Opera. It's no longer on Broadway, is it? They finally closed that down. In the city of New York. And there it seemed the people had done the best they could to overcome the disease. It's on the rise, by the way, in case you didn't realize. But in wandering down Broadway, I saw the bodies of beautiful women lying, some dead, and others in a dying condition on the sidewalks. I saw men come out of the cellars and ravish the persons of some that were yet alive, and then kill them and rob their bodies of all the valuables they had upon them. Then before they could get back to the cellar, they would roll over a time or two and die in agony. In some of the back streets, I saw them kill some of their own offspring and eat their raw flesh. It's in the Book of Mormon. And in a few minutes die themselves. Everywhere I went, I saw the same scene of horror and destruction and death and rapine. No carriages, no buggies or cars were running, but death and destruction were everywhere. Then I saw fire start. And just at that moment, a mighty east wind sprang up and carried the flames over the city. And it burned until there was not a single building left standing there. There it is. So he sees 2020, and now he sees 2023 in the city of New York. 9/11. The site of 9/11, where the president and the vice president will be. Ta-da. I knew my associative memory was trying to tell me something. Even down to the water's edge, wharfs and all shipping all seemed to burn and follow in common destruction, where the great city was a short time ago. The stench from the bodies that were burning was so great that it was carried a long distance across the Hudson Bay and carried death and destruction. Wherever it penetrated, I cannot paint in words the horror that seemed to compass me about. It was beyond description of man. I suppose this was the end, but it was not. I was given to understand that the same horror was being enacted all over the country. See? East, west, north, and south. Few were left alive. Still, there were some. Immediately after, I seemed to be standing on the left bank of the Missouri River, opposite the city. Is that a typing error? Of Independence. But there was no city. I told you it was a trap. I saw the whole state of Missouri and Illinois and all of Iowa, a complete desert with no living being there. They're actually going to take out Zion. A short distance from the river, however, I saw 12 men dressed in temple robes standing in a square or nearby so, and I understood it represented the 12 gates of the New Jerusalem. Their hands were uplifted, Pele-el, in consecration of the ground, and laying the cornerstone of the temple. Yep. They're going to destroy Utah and rebuild with federal government insurance money. I saw myriads of angels hovering over them. I hate it when I'm right. And saw also an immense pillar of clouds over them, and heard angels singing in the midst of heaven. Kill yourselves and meet Jesus in the nuclear cloud in heaven. Now is established the kingdom of God and his Christ, which shall never more be thrown down. He even saw the overthrow of his own kingdom, because he died in prison. I saw people coming from the river and from the desert places a long way off to help build the temple. Now, this is Mormons who hear of the destruction of the United States and leave their country to come to America to build Zion. Just like Brigham Young. They only knew the church by name, Jesus. So they went with Brigham. They didn't go with Sidney. They didn't go with Oliver Cowdery, David Whitmer, Emma Smith. They went with Brigham because Brigham told them that's the name of the church. And Brigham had the name of the church. So they went with Brigham. Likewise, Mormons. They were converted into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so they're only going to know to go where the prophets begin building Zion after the destruction this year. And I told you it's a trap. And that's it. So there you have it. This is what's coming. This is what the Book of Mormon tells us. And this is what John Taylor likewise exposes in more graphic detail. Because he's in on it. Disbelieve at your own risk.